And we are live. The SMT Podcast. Tyrone has named it the SMT Hot Take for the night. Uh, I got a couple of guests. I got Tyrone from Tech Life. Big shout out to him and welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. Always a gracious guest, and we're glad to have you. We also have Zero Cool RF, who's going to be with us tonight. He's going to hang out, and we're going to talk about the subject matter tonight. We have a potential AT&T transaction, which essentially involves taking the Warner Media assets, spinning it off into its own company, and then merging it with Discovery. And this, as a transaction, is seemingly going to change media businesses, right? Like this is the type of deal that's going to affect Hulu, Disney, Netflix. It's a media transaction. It's not a wireless transaction. The reason why it's making its way onto our channel, or our channels, I should say, is because it involves a company who is in telecom, right? And a wireless company in AT&T. And the reason that matters is because they build a mobile network operator, right? They are an MNO. And these transactions obviously can impact their cash flow, how much money they generate. It's an interesting transaction. I think what we should do is make sure that we frame this right, Tyrone. The terms are important when it comes to what exactly it would be and what it's not. So before we do that, let me do the hellos and say and recognize the members of the SMT Nation. We have Joeseph, we have Barry, we have Anwar. Good to see you all. Thanks for coming through. Flyboy Rex is here. Not sure what T-Mobile has to do with this topic. What's up, Baby Yoda? How you doing, man? We got TM. What's up, my guy? The homie Mike West is in the house. Made it over from the Patreon. Chucky as well. Good to see you. We got Seven Lucifer. Big Marc is in the house. He went ahead and threw us our first super chat for the evening. Big shout out to you. Thanks, Marc. Thank you so much for that. T-Mobile finally started caring about my area. Okay, again, we got some T-Mobile updates. I think we're going to stick to the AT&T side with this transaction for the night, guys. So I think what we'll do is we'll start with what this transaction is. Tyrone, as I'm going through these items, please do throw in your pieces so we can kind of plug in the gaps. It's possible maybe I missed some details. I know Zero Cool's catching up in this transaction. So here's how I see it. AT&T is in advanced talks to merge Warner Media with Discovery. All right, is that the framework of this deal?
Yes, that sounds about 100% spot on. Just, of course, anything is subject to change until it's official. They're anticipating it to be tomorrow before the opening bell. So we might have some 6, 7 a.m. breaking news coming through that makes it official. But other than that, that sounds like it would be its need. And Stanky was trying to do this in 2019. It fell through. So now it seems like a very easy decision for him to make now that this is potentially happening. And Discovery has absolutely no traction. That's why they created the Verizon deal. And that likely also hasn't helped them in the last few months.
Totally agree with your take on that. I see it the same way. The deal, if it's in advanced talks, that's 24 hours we could see a move. So that makes total sense. Nothing official until it's official. But we should see something as early as Monday. Even if it's not at opening bell, it could be in the afternoon. Like the expectation is that it will close. This is a business transaction that is destined to happen. It dates back to 2019. Why do you think the deal didn't happen in 2019? I think the reason it didn't happen is because both companies were not where they are today. I think AT&T is as focused as they've ever been, which makes this a more realistic transaction for them. It simplifies their business model. And I think for Discovery Plus, you worded it perfectly. They were not able to really catch traction on their own. They probably don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Therefore, getting in with Time Warner makes more sense. They become a supplement to an already large media conglomerate, and they can't lose. They'll return the value of the company. So I do have some numbers as to what the assets are and what they represent. But essentially what this is a merger. This is a media merger. This is Warner Media adding Discovery Plus. because Warner Media obviously has more assets. It's got the studios. It's a bigger company. This deal would create a standalone company that is going to involve a co-ownership between AT&T shareholders and Discovery shareholders. Go ahead and Tyrone and give your take on that.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. It would create a value of $150 billion between both companies combined. Essentially, what Bloomberg reported was that the CEO of Discovery would run the combined company. He would be the CEO. What this essentially means, I think, is, and what this means for wireless, if AT&T is saying that media is too complicated, they are admitting defeat, then essentially if that completely goes off the books, they no longer have to invest any of their capital into it. Well, guess what? All that capital can now be reinvested into wireless and fiber, of course. So that would be the two main assets that they would need to feed with capital going forward. If this deal goes through, if it may face scrutiny from current Democratic pushback in office. But if that goes through, again, the main two focuses for the capital would be wireless and fiber, and that is it. And that would be a big problem for T-Mobile, just to throw them in real quick. They would need to probably raise their capex. They would be in big trouble. Because now you're going up against two companies that are spending 18 plus billion on just wireless.
So basically the capex before was by itself anyways. What was the operational expenditure for Warner Studios? Wasn't it like
it was
10 billion standalone?
Yeah, roughly. They didn't really disclose that too much, but on wireless, pure wireless, from what I was able to kind of research and gather up, they were spending about 13 to 14 billion on the standalone basis, just wireless. But that 10 to 14 billion was kind of going towards fiber and then Warner Media, creating new content, original content. It's neat. If that goes away, I'm telling you right now, Stanky is going to be up there tooting his horn, and he's 6'5". He's going to be he's going to be the true silent killer that I've ever seen in the wireless industry.
Well, I will say that I think this strategically moves Warner Media as a larger competitor than Netflix, Hulu, Disney, whatever is going on out there. It puts them right there at the top of the food chain because, I was talking to Zero Cool about this. Discovery has like a dozen channels, and each channel has a long list of shows. I mean, what are we talking about here? We're talking Oprah, OWN, HGTV, Food Network, Animal Planet. I mean, let's just take a look at Discovery's worth and value. They generate $41 billion annual revenue. They're a profitable company. From what I understand, it's about $10 billion in net profits. That is money in the bank. There's no loser in this transaction. This is a win-win for both companies as it becomes a single company. It seems like it's going to be structured just like the DirecTV deal with TPG. Spin off the company, value it a certain way, get the shareholders their piece, and everybody's going to be making out like a fat cat. We get the debt off of the books, off of AT&T. Shareholders start to value the stock more, and then the dividend payments are a lot easier to meet with the free cash flow. How do you see it?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there was a period of discussion between the higher executives at AT&T, and they may have felt like if they had to keep investing back into media the way they were, and then that likely increases as actors ask for more money, studios want more money, they likely felt like they would have to carve out too much capex, and that there might have been a possibility that they fall behind on wireless, especially as Verizon accelerates their deployment and as T-Mobile gets going with theirs. And they're not spending, T-Mobile's not spending more money, but they had a year worth of head start on them. So that likely was taken into consideration, and maybe Jeff McElfresh, who's in charge of AT&T communication, might have told Stinky like, hey man, I need a couple more dollars here because I'm trying to accelerate. I'm trying to get this machine rolling, and media is holding us back. And that's how those talks likely transpired, maybe within the last week or so. We don't know, but it's going very, very quickly, Sneed. And AT&T is not playing any games. They got reimbursements for FirstNet, so the network size is there. The performance of that network is increasingly getting better every day because of the modernizations, and they're pushing. They're pushing.
Big shout out to Kev, my brother Jose, Steven's in the house. We have Chame, MS, David's here, as well as Jar Cohen. The one thing I want to say when we speak to the network, this increases the potential of the network because it gets a focal point away from media and places more emphasis on fiber, here's the thing, Tyrone. Fiber's a winner.
Yep.
They're winning in fiber. That's a two-part revenue stream. That's a fiber backbone for your wireless assets, and that's also a fiber product, direct service to home and business. So they're winning, right? They know what they want to do. They're going to be true to their DNA. They're not going to bail on their investments.
No.
Even with this merging and kind of splitting off, they're still true to the game. They're still a holdings company, right? That's still what they do. Everybody thinks of AT&T as this wireline company. That's the 80s. That's the 90s. Starting in the 2000s with the merger with Singular, they became a wireless network operator. And then from the wireless, we saw the fiber, right? We saw them move and pivot and infrastructure. This all makes sense to me. I think this places them in a perfect position. Couldn't have come at a better time for them when they're trying to eliminate debt and pay down debt and all these other things. This makes total sense. I personally think that, even though nobody's speaking on the record, because this is like, Bloomberg reported it and there's nobody who's willing to say, put their neck out, and put their name on the line. But honestly, the story itself, the bigger thing is the fact that I think now AT&T can kill in wireless. T-Mobile will not be able to just walk all over AT&T. See, the way I saw it was AT&T was going to be just good enough in wireless so that people won't leave them, right? So they can retain the fiber customer and they can retain the media customer. So they get HBO Max, they get the wireless, and they can have the home internet too with fiber. It retains all of that. And I think it makes their wireless better. If they continue to spend $22 billion after spinning this off, that's a better dedication of $22 billion.
Yeah.
The network's going to continue to improve, probably at a more focused pace. What do you think?
Yes. I think going to improve. This will be the best AT&T product on the network side that we've likely ever seen in the past decade. They got out the gate slow on LTE. They caught up, and their network was behind in size. FirstNet fixed that. Now, thanks to Randall Stevenson no longer being the CEO, gladly, and Stanky stepping in, he's really putting his formula, his strategy into the Stanky initiatives, what they call it internally. And it's taken a little bit more time to fully realize everything that he wants to do because there's such a behemoth of a company. You can't make moves like that overnight in a company that size. They have over 200,000 employees.
That's true. But T-Mobile can make a pivot overnight.
Yeah.
If T-Mobile woke up one day and decided to do T-Vision.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They woke up one day and decided to do fixed wireless. That didn't take much planning and convincing to shareholders and board members, right? That was easy.
Yeah. Here in this one, he has several board members to go through.
Zero Cool, I want to get you in on this. We're talking now, we've kind of spilled this into wireless. You're more of a network kind of guy. How do you see the potential of AT&T as an operator now?
Honestly, reading the terms of this deal, I think when AT&T dropped to number 3 in terms of subscribers, I think Stinky's face would just turn bright red and he made it, swore up and down. But I think I think
6'5", bro.
You're right. I can't imagine somebody at that height being mad. But I think as far as what I've been reading about, as soon as Stanky took, CEO, the role of CEO, he's, in my eyes, he's never been a big fan of media. I don't think he's, you know what I'm saying? He's mostly preached about wireless.
That's interesting you bring that up, Zero Cool. He was the guy who pushed for the Time Warner deal. I just think he had a different plan for Time Warner.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say. Yeah, exactly right. I don't think, I always said that content was king, but I think we're having like a dynamic shift, because it's just nowadays it's people, they can get their content from anywhere, right? But it's always like the fastest who can get it the best or whatever.
Let's check the timeline real cool, Zero Cool. Let's bring this back a little bit. T-Vision failed. They partnered with YouTube TV, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Go90 failed. They shut it down. They made partnerships with YouTube TV at Verizon, Disney Plus, Hulu. It's all partnerships, right?
Yeah.
AT&T is essentially doing the same thing. They're spinning off the media side. Verizon just sold Yahoo, AOL, all that residual media stuff. I think they came to the realization, all these companies, it's too hard to do this as a wireless network operator.
Right, exactly.
On the dawn of the 5G build.
Exactly, yeah. So media is like the old DSL, you know what I'm saying? Media is like, it's there, it's okay. I mean, people can get it, but it doesn't really deliver, something that a 5G has the potential to. Like, media has content. Is it scalable? Not as scalable as what a 5G can do for somebody. Like, there's so much more potential that you can use 5G for than just saying, oh, I have this content or this channel on TV that I can watch on a daily basis, right? So I think that's where Stinky is focusing on. And again, I think he just hates being number 3. Like, he's, you know what I mean? Like, he's probably very upset. So good move.
If you're an alpha male, you're not into number 3.
Oh no, you want to be number 1, right? And just this, I think I want to say, I could be wrong about this, but I want to say, when the whole seismic subscriber shift happened, I bet you anything that the board of directors were just hounding him left and right, like be back to number 2, or it's just I think there was some huge talks going on. I don't see the end of this for AT&T. I see them selling more and more stuff, right? I see them solely focused on wireless. But hold on, they still own DirecTV, right? Is that correct, or did they spin that off too?
They've got like 70% ownership. They're splitting with TPG.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's off the books.
Off the books, right?
Yeah,
it's now the new DirecTV, and that's when we kind of started the show tonight. I wanted to frame it that way. That's how I see this playing out. AT&T, a majority owner in the new Warner Media, so like basically AT&T and Discovery shareholders are the ownership stake in this.
Is that 100% confirmed, like 70%, or is it a complete 100% spinoff?
Well, I'm looking at the value. I've got $85 billion or $80 billion for Time Warner, and I've got about $30 to $40 billion in Discovery. If it's 80-30, I mean, that's kind of how I'm looking at it, right? I'm looking at about a 70-30 split or something like that. We have to get a final number. Discovery's generates $41 billion annual. They're profitable. $10 billion of it is net profit. So, I don't know. Time Warner generates like double that, if not more. So I don't know. It's hard to value it, but I think it's based on shares, as opposed to say the value of the company. In my opinion, I think Warner Media assets are probably worth 5 times, that of Discovery, long term because of the movies.
Exactly.
Bro, these are box off. They get frickin'. You saw what frickin' Wonder Woman 1984 did, and that was a terrible movie.
Yeah.
It was awful. And like Mortal Kombat, Kong killed it. Kong and Godzilla. These are big time, and they're gonna do DC. And they're gonna open back up. With movies. Going to the theater. They're still doing the straight to platform. It's a winner to me.
Yeah, I think in the near future, this deal is going to go through. They're going to have, no problem at all
Really?
Spinning this up. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah, because this is
Wow.
all the regulators are gonna look at this. Oh, AT&T wants to sell some stuff. Great, let's let them. Let's that's exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
In the near future, it's just gonna be an all-out wireless brawl, 5G brawl between the big three. That's how it's gonna be.
In my
It's
opinion,
gonna be vicious. It's gonna be nasty. Yeah.
Jose, if I was gonna respond to the 8K content, any carrier with a millimeter wave can supply 8K to as many devices as possible.
Yep.
If you're on millimeter wave, so let's call 8K video resolution a Verizon special because they're gonna do millimeter wave the best. That would tank the T-Mobile network, because they're gonna stick to 2.5 gigahertz as the holy grail. Yeah, I agree, Mike. I think Wonder Woman was trash.
Here's another thing real quick, Sneed, as you mentioned that. Another thing that they probably looked at too internally was they started giving out numbers of HBO Max and they started guiding. So it was 20, 30 million. Then it got to 30, 40. And then at the last analyst day, it was like 60 plus. And this is globally, not domestically. And it didn't move the stock. Every time they started saying, oh, we're gaining millions and millions, the stock moved like an inch.
But
so
the
that's
ARPU is at $12. That's pretty good, dude.
Yeah, and the stock didn't move.
It just makes me wonder, because if they're selling this, I'm surprised that they just didn't acquire Discovery, right? Because I thought they were making so much money with Warner Media. I guess the profit that they made wasn't enough to pay off the rapid debt. Are you seeing the same thing, or I mean?
From what I understand, they're about to pay off 20 to 30 billion between now and the end of the year. They're making money. They're scheduled to pay down debt is 20 to 30 billion by the end of this year. That brings them down to Verizon debt. Like everybody's talking smack about AT&T's debt. Well, they'll be below Verizon at the end of this year, and that's where the spending starts to happen for C-band. So if they pay down every year 20 to 30 billion, and they're able to do that with free cash flow, and they could still pay dividends at 6%, the stock is going to gain its value.
Exactly.
I mean, just literally on that, like investors invest in confidence when they see, the PE is so good,
I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think that's the name of the game here. It's just paying down debt.
But I don't understand why are investors worried about debt at AT&T?
It's to pay down the debt fast, because I think with this whole 5G thing,
it has to be that. You're right.
It has to be that. It has to be. You cannot.
They're terrified of 5G expenditure, right?
That's exactly what it is. Why do you think? Okay, think about it. This makes perfect sense. They haven't, done as much small cells as what Verizon have, obviously, because they're not, millimeter wave, right? The quickest way to 5G to build is to pay down your debt. That's pretty much what it is. And I think that's why they're doing that for this deal here. So
you gotta think investors are still a little skeptical because they've been a loose cannon under Randall Stevens. Like, yeah, I'm gonna buy this, I'm gonna buy that, I'm gonna get this, I'm gonna get that. And now Stanky is taking them a completely different direction. He's like, no, we're going to spin this off, but we're still going to make money from this asset that we purchased. But we need to focus on wireless, which is our bread and butter. And then fiber at a $50+ ARPU is going to also make us money.
So, fiber is a $50+ ARPU?
That what?
Fiber is $50+ ARPU?
Yeah, it was 54.11, I think.
It was 40. So it was 40. They went to 45 to 50. But here's what I'm kind of thinking. I don't know. Let me ask the two of you guys this.
Hold on, before we even do this, Caleb, I'm gonna let you go. But like, T-Mobile always talks about synergies. What in the world are they talking about? Like, we're watching $12 ARPU on HBO Max, $54 ARPU on fiber, and $53 ARPU on wireless. What synergies are they talking about, dog?
No idea.
I want to say bundling, maybe. That's one thing I could think of.
Yeah.
But here's with this move, since you're just going to concentrate on wireless, here's what I'm kind of thinking, and maybe I could see this happening. I could see probably about maybe 5, we'll say 10. I'm going to say I'll put this on record. 10 years from now, AT&T will have a better network than Verizon.
I've been hearing 5.
I'll say 10, just to be on the safe side. But think about it. This is they're going to have the capital now. They're going to have, getting rid of all this debt. I think they have the drive to do it. I know you have a funny look on your face, but like, I think they can do it. Can you imagine if that would happen?
Hold on. You got AT&T making a better 5G network than Verizon.
I didn't say better 5G network. I said better network.
National?
Yeah.
Ah, man. That's tough.
That includes the LTE, by the way.
Well, here's the thing. You're saying that you expect a revised plan moving forward from AT&T.
I do. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
I'm with you there. That's a wild card. But like as of right now, dude, Verizon's got the blueprint.
Absolutely.
Just real quick, if this deal goes through smoothly, AT&T is going to have another investors day on a new strategy now.
Yeah. As soon as this transaction goes through, they might want to do a presser or something to their investors.
Yes, they have to immediately after.
They usually do.
Because now there's more funding for C-band, more funding for millimeter wave, bigger network. They got to update. They have to.
You know who I think this hurts the most?
T-Mobile.
This because AT&T has been adding as much or more paying customers than T-Mobile. I don't know when any of these guys are going to catch Verizon in total postpaid subs. I don't even really care, to be honest with you. The way I'm a network guy. Tyrone, you're kind of a network guy. I mean, Zero Cool, you're 100% a network guy. We believe in what Verizon's going to do as a build out. We've seen what AT&T has done, in the last 2 years is incredible. I mean, they dumped tens of billions of dollars. It was 21 billion 2 years ago. It's 20 billion last year, and it's going to be another 20 billion this year. It's just big time money, right? Even if we treat it as 14 or 15 billion dedicated to wireless, that's about what Verizon does too. So this, I mean, heck, I've looked at the numbers from certain sources, and they're saying that AT&T has the coverage to match Verizon. I don't know about if they have more or whatever. It's hard for me to speculate on that. But their capacity is there right now.
Exactly. This is why I'm saying this. Like, they have high capacity, more capacity right now than Verizon.
The C-band is going to be a distinguishing element of the network.
True, but I think
now it doesn't have to be huge because remember, AT&T is not doing fixed wireless.
Right, but I don't know. I just think like I said, 10 years from now, can you imagine AT&T network being better than? Think about this. They're gonna have high capacity on the LTE network that's greater than Verizon's. They don't necessarily will have the 5G that Verizon's gonna put, because it's going to be still, in my opinion, maybe sporadic everywhere. They won't cover the whole U.S. now with millimeter wave, not in that amount of time. But I think it's going to be a better network experience with AT&T overall 10 years from now.
Well, the first thing that Verizon has to do immediately when C-band is active in their top 46 PAs, they have to create a plan that can do what Magenta Max does. They must.
Yeah.
There's no way they can continue to offer a $90 or $95 plan without 1080p.
That's just too much.
That is absurd. In the hotspot plans, they don't have a competing hotspot plan. Mm-hmm. AT&T has $50 100 gigs, no deprio. T-Mobile's got a same one. Verizon's doing 30 gigs, and that's subject to deprio after 22. What in the world is that? Clearly it's a network restriction. It's they're unable to do it because of capacity constraints, but that is their golden goose is going to be C-band. They're doing 140, 160 megahertz on the low end. They're doing 200 megahertz on the high end in these markets. They're going to have to be the wireless network, or else there will be no growth. They have to offer capacity to make to sell it to people that might be considering T-Mobile.
Yeah, I
And
think
they have to be able to compete with AT&T.
exactly. Yeah, I think the good part about this deal, this Warner Media Discovery deal, is that it's going to force the carriers to spend their capex, to invest in the network. It's got to. If it doesn't, there's something wrong. But like I think it will. I think T-Mobile, Verizon are looking at this and they're like, oh crap, AT&T's they're coming. They're gunning.
I'm really happy about this. I will say that I know I haven't really thrown this in there yet. Zero Cool. I'm thrilled if this deal happens. More focus for AT&T on wireless and fiber.
Absolutely.
I'm for it. Those are huge.
Yeah, this will definitely happen. I could see AT&T making a huge hard push because it just frees up a lot more, OpEx and CapEx for that. So
John Stanky said at the internal town hall, he's going to be on a AT&T commercial soon, a promotional.
He's going to be on a commercial.
That's what he stated on the call on the town hall. I don't know what this commercial is about, but if I have to take a guess, it may be him saying like, AT&T, we're back, or wireless, you know what I mean? Something along those lines to really push competition to another level. I know that's not his style. He's very quiet, but I think that may be needed to really put the industry on notice. Like, hey, AT&T is coming. Because in the past, AT&T was like, wireless, they're not focused. They're a hybrid company. We can beat them in wireless. That was the talk in T-Mobile and Verizon's camps. And now that's going to be a drastic difference over the next 5 to 10 years because AT&T has gotten those reimbursements for FirstNet, so the network size is there. And now they can purely invest in densification, small cells, which they're coming in abundance. And then, of course, they may change their millimeter wave strategy, however that looks in the future. But it's going to be, the CLE is a perfect example for AT&T, man.
Bro, they haven't even turned anything on yet. I've driven by 30 or 40 CRAN sites in the last 2 weeks. All of them are still off. The construction is done. They have power to them. They're just not broadcasting.
Wow.
I'm getting 80 to 140 megabits per second on those areas. You start deploying several dozens of CRAN. My question is, why are they doing this? I'm like, what in the world? Like, they must be trying to bulletproof the network. And I swear, Tyrone, if they don't have fiber on a certain block, I think they're going to do fixed wireless.
Maybe.
I know they said they don't want to, but this changes everything.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be fixed wireless because they're going to use the air gig, the gig power, the BPL, the air
but
gig.
We haven't heard or seen anything on that in at least 8 months, maybe longer.
But it's going to happen though. Can you imagine millimeter wave nodes or LTE nodes on every power line? Like every power line? I think that's they're just kind of like working out the schematics on that because they own like almost every pole. Right.
Basically, but this would explain why Verizon has decided to put a node on every block in the CLE.
Exactly. Yeah, I could see those two competing. You have a small cell Verizon, you have an air gig with AT&T. I could definitely see that happening.
Yep, because T-Mobile sure ain't doing small cells, so all that prime real estate is available for AT&T and Verizon.
Exactly.
Breaking news out of Mr. Barry in Chicago. AT&T techs are saying they will be offering fixed wireless instead of fiber. If you could get confirmation on that, that would be huge because when this deal happens and they can focus solely on fiber and fixed wireless, Tyrone, fixed wireless is icing on the cake. You're going to monetize excess capacity on your network. Anywhere where you have millimeter wave, anywhere you have C-band, you could offer 200 megabits per second. For $50 a month on autopay.
Well, they said
You
they
know, and you
would.
can network slice it. You can network slice it on standalone in 2 years. It doesn't have to be right away. They could do it in 2023 after they get block B and C.
Yeah, they said they would do that in rural America, or at least attempt to, because the
Chicago's
network.
not rural.
That's what I'm
Chicago's
saying.
a top 4 market.
Yeah, but in rural, it makes perfect sense because FirstNet is built, so the network is already there. So you're just adding. You can quickly get those customers onto the network. Maybe even now, maybe there's enough FirstNet capacity to get fixed wireless into those areas now and compete against T-Mobile. The urban situation is it's a little iffy because
Yeah, but I see suburban as an option.
Suburban, yes, I see that too. The reason I say urban because there's a lot of fiber laid between these companies, and
Sure. Yeah.
you're running into competition. So
yeah, but Cook County's an option. I mean, it doesn't have to be Chicago proper. I'm not saying
yeah,
the Midway and the train station area and apartments. I was thinking more like Cook County on the outskirts. We're talking 15 miles out of the city.
yeah, if it makes sense, why not?
I think it would be easy to do it. You send them some Nighthawks, those frickin' those branded routers, and you can get a fixed wireless product with a decent modem. I mean, AT&T's hardware has always been fine.
Yep.
Verizon's hardware has been fine. The hardware situation's a T-Mobile problem, in my opinion.
I'm trying to think like 10 years from like today. I think. Boy, I think someone's gonna not to be off topic or anything, but I think someone's gonna acquire Dish Wireless at that point.
I really do think they're gonna focus on enterprise and new use cases for 5G. I don't know what their consumer network's gonna look like. I know it won't be congested, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You're gonna be serving 20, 30 million, maybe.
I think Caleb's right. I think the market is very healthy. I think it gets even stronger. Companies get bigger. Google, Apple. I think they get bought out by somebody at some point. It's going to happen, and Charlie's probably already looking at what that scenario could look like.
So, what do you guys think about the transaction? Do you think it's likely? Do you think it's mostly a foregone conclusion? Do you feel it makes sense for both parties? What's your take?
I think 100% this will go through.
Yeah, I truly believe. I don't think it'll face any scrutiny.
No regulations. Nobody's gonna say you're getting too big.
It makes a weaker company stronger in discovery.
I think Jessica worsened with her already has to check.
They slide the proverbial envelope across the desk.
They have.
Get your husband something nice.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, man. Wow. Makes business sense to me. I like the deal, actually. I just get it away from AT&T a little bit. Let them do their standalone company. What is it? Kevlon, whoever's running that segment of the business. Let him operate it, kind of be its own thing. Dedicated wireless and fiber makes sense. This hurts T-Mobile's fixed wireless access opportunities because this means that AT&T is going to be building out fiber more aggressively. You may see a new guidance for fiber mid-year. Next quarter, do not be surprised if frickin' AT&T comes out and says, last quarter our goal was 34% fiber penetration. We hit 36. This quarter we're going to shoot for 42%. And by year's end our new goal is going to be 49%. A 50% market penetration for fiber is out of this world incredible.
They're going to definitely not outspend, but work outside of their ILEC footprint. So they're going to expand just like Verizon is.
Yeah. T-Mobile's got a lot to lose in this deal, only because it's going to make AT&T better. How does this make AT&T's core business worse? It doesn't. In fact, it gets rid of the thing that we loathed for 2 years. We all said the same thing. Why is AT&T confused? Why are they not focused on their bread and butter? The fiber is profitable. The wireless is how they make their money. It's what gives their stock value. You know, what the hell was going on with Randall Stevenson? When is he getting kicked out of there? Then the Elliott management thing happened, and it was all under the spotlight. And now that's gone. It's the company today is the outlook is so good if the execution is there. And I'm leaning towards a pretty easy execution. AT&T just doesn't have to get in its way. You know, their network is better than T-Mobile's. You know, I'm not trying to put down, you know, the thongs or whatever. I'm just saying, you know, I've been testing the networks across the entire state of Ohio. I've traveled outside of the state of Ohio. I look at most of the plans on AT&T are better, with the exception of Magenta Max. And honestly, I'm not convinced that their fixed wireless offer is that great yet. You know, the dependability, there's other problems, but like this screams full-on recovery for AT&T. I have no fear. I don't have any concerns that I used to have about AT&T. I think their CEO is better. I think he's more in tune with the investors and the business. I think he's more involved with the decisions as opposed to Randall, I feel, who kind of was like willy-nilly about transactions. This guy seems to understand the gravity of these deals, you know, and I also think like this is AT&T's opportunity to really stick it to Verizon too, because Verizon is strapped right now, and they'll be competing for the same customers in wireless, you know. So, you know, Verizon's going to do fixed wireless access. We'll see what they do with fiber. But, man, it just got a lot better in the marketplace. I think we're going to see better competition, too. It was already good, but now I think it's better.
Absolutely. I want AT&T's network to be better than Verizon's. I just do. I just do. I always liked how AT&T did their network approach, especially with the DSS situation. I think
it is better.
There's certain things. I mean, yeah, Verizon's network is good. Don't get me wrong. They're extremely focused, and they know how to execute. They really do. Verizon does. Don't get me wrong, but it's just, I don't know. I just have that, you know, that devil on my shoulder saying I want AT&T's network to be just better than Verizon's, because I feel that we could see something great, something new. I mean, think about having, you know, Verizon be unthroned to be, you know, the next podcast, right? Which would be nice.
Honestly, I think the AT&T access that I've got a Los Mobile account, a couple lines. I've got FirstNet. You know, these lines are the best lines I have. You know, and my Verizon account is decades old, and I won't leave Verizon. I mean, it is the trusty steed, as Carlos calls it. And with C-band, it'll be exciting, and with millimeter wave, it's great. But man, the way the video playback is, unthrottled, unfettered, it's just freaking awesome, dude. I mean, you throw in a 40 megahertz channel of C-band, you know, and that dedication to the fiber upgrades and the tower site upgrades, adding some densification. The C-RAN isn't even on yet. It's crazy potential. You know, I'm super excited about AT&T, and I'm getting the fiber soon.
Yep.
And they'll continue to offer HBO Max on a discount. Pfft, dude, I'm all for it.
Where's the Death Star music?
What's like I don't know if you heard me on the video, Sneed, when Miguel Fresh was speaking at the internal town hall. They asked him, how does Verizon look competition-wise in terms of them having 160 megahertz, in some cases 200 megahertz of C-band? And he said, if you compare our LTE assets, which we invested a lot in that spectrum, and our 5G assets in the C-band, they are estimating Verizon to have about a 20% capacity gain versus them. But they anticipate that 20% to go away with fixed wireless. So they're either going to be faster than Verizon, or they're going to be neck and neck in certain cases.
The
That
only
doesn't
issue
include
is
millimeter wave, by the way.
I was gonna say the minute you get millimeter wave in there, the math doesn't work. Because
Yeah, it doesn't work.
all bets are off. If Verizon hits their stride by 2025 and puts 50% of urban traffic on millimeter wave, Verizon is going to have sub 6 gigahertz connections averaging 1 gigabit per second. Like that's a slam dunk. They will do it. And that's not even discussing anything beyond C-band. So once they start doing N48, once they start doing whatever the next auction is, if there's more CBRS coming and if they listen to Charlie Ergen and put it at 72 dB, then it's a different ball game. Look, I did the math myself in an estimated calculation. He's right when you put millimeter wave on the side. Everything goes out the window once millimeter wave's in play. And especially with repeaters and echoes and pivots, they're not going to be investing in any of that. They're doing none of that. They've got AirGig. That'll be a project they'll be working on. They don't want to do anything with pivots and Comware and all that. They don't want to do any of that.
So I got a quick thought here. Remember how John Legier was always trashed in the Big Two, Dumb and Dumber, blah, 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 right? Can you see Mike Seaver doing this in about 5 to 10 years' time? Always trashing the Big Two?
I mean, he kind of does it now. I mean,
he'll be out of there.
Right. That's exactly. But I think there's going to be a seismic shift again in terms of subscribers, and I think with this deal, I think Verizon, AT&T once again are become the big 1 and 2, and AT&T is going to be left a lonely 3 again.
Elias, T-Mobile USA is mostly 2G outside of the US. So I don't know what they charge for higher speeds, but certain plans I think have that access, but it is quite expensive on AT&T and Verizon. I think you would pay $30 a day for like a half a gig of high speed with Verizon. Yeah, Derek, the millimeter wave is big time. I mean, what is Verizon's millimeter wave looking like in 2025? I guarantee by 2025, 70% of the U.S. population has millimeter wave from Verizon. Every large market will be completed, and then every mid-market will be like halfway done. Pops? I don't know. What do you want to go for? 150 million pops by 2025?
I'm just asking.
I don't know. I have no idea because the way I'm looking at it is each node is going to decrease in cost as time goes on.
Yeah.
Right. And the more they scale, the more cost effective millimeter wave is. I've read all the reports. I've looked at the data. They're going to be more motivated to offload more and more traffic off of C-band. So literally they're going to be like, yeah, let's put up more nodes. Like, yeah, especially as they monetize the fixed wireless, they're going to reinvest. They'll never lose with nodes. They'll never. There's no losses. How do you lose?
Right. I want to see a definitive millimeter wave strategy with AT&T. They have to put out something. They can't just do nothing. Like, I think the fixed wireless is fine.
Now,
the AirGig is good. They need a definitive millimeter wave strategy saying, hey, here's what we're going to do to take on Verizon.
Here's where this changes. So if this media spinoff happens, and they just successfully spun off both of their large media assets, traditional and then streaming, on the next analyst day or earnings call, they're going to have to talk detailed network plans. They got nothing else to speak of. They can't bring up media no more. They don't run it. Yeah, they get money from it, but their analyst day is going to have to be pure wireless talk. They'll have to have a whole presentation on how they compete millimeter wave wise against Verizon and the rest of the network. The C-band plans will now have to be accelerated. They'll now have to be on par or exceed Verizon in the next 12 months as well. They're already anticipating a massive restructuring at Warner Media. The same is going to have to happen at AT&T with wireless and fiber. They're going to have to get after it.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what I'm saying. I've been in this podcast. I'm immersed. It's going to be an all-out brawl between the three. Um,
Yep.
it's going to be very interesting to see. It's going to be vicious and just really fun to
Oh,
watch.
and by the way, this allows them to maintain operations at a higher ARPU. Right? The
Yes.
return of investments
higher
is
now.
going to be better. Yeah. Don't be surprised if we see the ARPU back up over $55. You know, it's
Revenue
dipped to
up.
about 53.
Yep.
Yeah, I expect it to
Profits
spike up a little bit.
revenue
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I
they're a
completely
leaner
agree.
company
I mean,
this way.
Yes, much leaner. I mean, this was a boss move by Stanky to incorporate this and to see it through. I mean, from what I've been told, this was tight-lipped. Only him, the CEO of Warner Media, and like a couple of board members knew. Miguel Frisch didn't even know. This was tight-lipped. He dropped this.
Yeah, but
he dropped this
McElfresh
bomb
is probably
out of nowhere.
thrilled.
Yes. Oh yeah. His network engineers are like, this is the most we've ever had to spend in our market.
They're going to get an additional
I mean, they're
15%
thrilled. They're excited.
spending. Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think the ARPU is going
the
to be
3-year,
65.
just the 3-year plan. Yeah, just the 3-year network plan, like the plan that's going to happen in the next 3 years, has drastically, insanely shifted. I mean, there's more macros on that thing than we've ever seen.
I think they're going to match Verizon's C-band deployment in Block A. I think
agree.
they could do that now. They can throw enough.
Yeah.
They could throw an additional $2 billion at C-band this year or next year.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And the millimeter wave. You know, they could make an initiative. 10,000 nodes installed this year. You know, and that if they do 10,000 this year, then that puts them probably halfway to Verizon.
Yes.
You know, I think Verizon's at about 35,000 at the end of this year.
And another thing that they strongly believe in, which I agree, is they still think fiber is going to lead to growth on wireless. You get fiber in the house,
Sure.
you bundle that with wireless, it's 25% off. Let's do it.
You know, people say they don't want bundles, but the traditional bundle is over. Now they're saying if you have this, we'll discount the other service. It's not a bundle. You don't have to get this and that. You get this, and then you can get that at a discount.
Correct.
Elias is saying that they only have a few sites on millimeter wave. We really only have one carrier, Eli, that has the vision and the wherewithal to want to do millimeter wave to scale, and it's Verizon Wireless. And the reason I think they're willing to invest so early in this technology is because they had no other spectrum to deploy. Otherwise, I think they would have been more like AT&T. It would have been situational. It would have been in logistical places. But they said, you know, let's just start building now. We can't lose. You know, I always looked at millimeter wave in the CLE as deposits. You know, like depositing money in the bank that's going to be there, and it's always going to hold value. And they're way ahead of every company. You know, Verizon's millimeter wave, if I had to give it a time frame, they're probably a year and a half ahead of AT&T, and they're probably 4 years ahead of T-Mobile. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like that's like in 2 years, T-Mobile's fell behind 4 years in millimeter wave.
Yeah. Yeah, that millimeter wave is going to be a scenario we've had back in the 2007, 2008 as they shifted to LTE. Some were still doing HSPA, some were doing WiMAX like Sprint, and then they were like, oh man, we got to transition to LTE because it's so much better technology and efficient. And I think the same happens here. At some point, Verizon is going to get so much further along on millimeter wave that they're going to outpace AT&T and T-Mobile on every single third party. They're going to be the fastest by a long shot on averages if you combine it all. That AT&T and T-Mobile will have to budge and say, we're going to do millimeter wave too at scale.
Actually, Eli, the millimeter wave actually makes 5G network builds more cost effective. It's the most cost effective way to actually create capacity. That's every modern research paper, every market analysis of 5G networking indicates that millimeter wave, the more you scale, the more cost effective it is to your network operations. So there's so many things about millimeter wave that I think people have not been able to wrap their mind around. One of them is the cost effective nature. It's the truest capacity layer, and it's now propagating much better. It's actually doesn't require line of sight anymore. We haven't even seen the two key features of millimeter wave that are going to change it: beamforming and beam tracking. We haven't even seen that yet.
Artificial intelligence too.
It's going to track devices to maintain a resilient signal. So you won't even need line of sight. I mean, we don't need line of sight right now on the Verizon millimeter wave. You know, I've been able to kind of work around the line of sight with AT&T as well. I can't speak to the T-Mobile. I just haven't tested enough. I've had trouble with that connection, so I can't speak to it. But, you know, I know what millimeter wave's potential is. You know, for everybody who's stuck on mid-band only, it's just not the way to network. I mean, we're seeing 80 megahertz and 100 megahertz channels of N41 getting congested. So,
Yep. The carriers in Japan say if you don't do the millimeter wave, you're dumb.
it's not cost effective to go mid-band only. It's just not. You're going to take these semi-wide channels and you're going to congest them. Bro, I just went to a barbecue earlier today, and it was a birthday party, and there was N41, and the fastest speed I got was like 50 megabits. So clearly, it requires more than just one site having N41. It needs multiple sites. It needs clustering, and if the market share calls for it, millimeter wave is a must. And okay, fine, do it when you can, but you have to do it. We can't sit there and pretend like millimeter wave is this. It's like this pointless technology. It's such a horrible outlook. That's so outdated. People say it doesn't work through leaves and all this other stuff. I mean, time and time again, I've proven that wrong with my testing. I've done live streams. I've done the podcast to discuss my experiences. It's been so good to see what's happened in 2 years, where only a single company has invested in this technology. I'm actually concerned. Why in the world has AT&T not done it more? And the reason I'm concerned is because T-Mobile wants to do fixed wireless, and they haven't done anything with millimeter wave. That's my concern. Hey, take it easy, Mike.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Here's what I think. I think my last statement, but I think this is going to happen in the near future. I think a lot of regional carriers are going to be acquired by the big two.
For coverage?
Uh-huh. Yep. I can definitely see that. They're all going to go bye-bye. That's for sure.
There's not many left as it is. Got a
True,
couple
I
in each
know.
state, right?
A couple, yeah.
Yeah, a couple in each state. I remember in the 80s and 90s, I mean, God, man, you just looked at the list of acquisitions that Verizon had between like 99 and 2009, like a dozen, you know, and then they got Bluegrass recently in Kentucky, and, you know, you look at T-Mobile smartly doing the Swiftel and the Shentel deal, iWireless a couple of years ago, that was smart.
Yeah, I think there's only a couple
AT&T
left.
hasn't been really buying anybody. They've been building natively.
True, yeah.
Eli, the microlinks that you speak to, yeah, they can use millimeter wave for IAB, inter-access. I forget whatever it stands for. The backhaul, the millimeter wave as a backhaul is really cool technology. So that way you don't have to run fiber necessarily. We call tower sites masts or base stations. That makes sense. Base stations. Yeah. I guess we could call them base stations too, right, Zero Cool?
I'm sorry, I missed this Just question.
They call in Europe they call tower sites base stations. I guess we could do that, right?
They do. It's technically a base station. That's what it is.
Yeah,
So
technically. We call them cell sites just because they're transmitting and broadcasting cellular signal.
I mean, the base station is pretty much, so a base station is anything that's like a 3G or a 4G or a 5G node. That's pretty much what it is. So that's just what we call it.
All right. So what do you guys think? Think we covered everything, man?
Yeah.
We'll see about tomorrow. We'll see if AT&T pulls the trigger on the deal. We'll see if the terms are to Discovery and Time Warner's liking. So we shall see. Tyrone, you plan on doing a video early if it happens?
Yep.
I don't know if we still got Tyrone. Okay.
I sure plan on doing it.
Okay, so everybody be on the lookout for Tyrone. Subscribe to his channel, Tech Life channel, and be on the lookout for those updates. I don't know, depending on when the deal happens, I might offer some kind of an update or, kind of like a thing for it. But chances are if I'm at work, I probably have to wait till after work. But I'll definitely give you guys my take. Maybe we can get some terms on the agreement. Who knows what that looks like. I think that matters a little bit for their financials, but not so much what they're going to do with their business. So,
well, I'm sure the investors want to know too. They're kind of confused as well right now. They're like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah.
So
the investors want to know. Do you think this is a buy if you're an investor? If you're in the market for some shares, do you think this makes AT&T a more attractive buy?
I really think so, Sneed. But again, nothing that AT&T has done has moved their stock. They've been growing subscriber base the last 2 quarters. That didn't help. They got almost 60 million global HBO Max subscribers. That didn't help. I don't know anymore. Maybe Stanky needs to go up there in his birthday suit and the stock will go up, man. I have no idea.
Well, Verizon can't grow their stock either. Under Hans Vestberg, I think they have a 27% increased value.
I think there's something. There's a takeaway from this. I guess if you start offering free lines, your stock will go up. So, I just something for Verizon and AT&T to take note of.
I wonder if this decreases T-Mobile stock at all if it moves.
I think it would. I think so.
Like $1 or something like that.
T-Mobile stock seems to be bulletproof, man.
Yeah, they're up over 140 now.
Yeah, they grew 3% on Friday.
They've got everybody convinced that the cash flow is just about to start pouring in. So if people are buying that, then I can't blame them for investing.
Yeah,
because
still
we equate
right now.
What there needs to happen, I think, is a stock split, and then offer dividends. Other than that, I mean, I would never invest in T-Mobile until they pay a dividend because all their competitors do. Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. I wouldn't, and I would not invest if they get to the $160, $170 price. They'd have to split the stock and get it lower.
It's going to have to go back to like pre-merger days of like $87 or whatever it is.
Yep. That's the only way. Because I don't know, man. That stock to me is amazingly overvalued, but they're saying it's underperforming and undervalued. So
I don't know.
That's what the market says, then I guess so.
Well, I think with Verizon losing Discovery in this deal, I think Verizon stocks drop too. Verizon stocks might dip another, 50 cents or $1 or something. Who knows?
But see, to me, I don't know if Discovery Plus was that attractive of a value. Like, I never signed up for it. I got Disney, Hulu, and ESPN Plus. I got that, but I've never went in there and even tried Discovery Plus.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tomorrow, man. We'll know, and then we'll report.
Yep, tomorrow. I'll be up early, man. I get to work at 4 a.m. So.
Wow. Respect the grind, man. Thanks for coming through on the show tonight, man. Get yourself some rest. Tomorrow could be a big day. Big shout out to Tyrone from Tech Life. Subscribe to his channel. One of my mods actually just linked it, so check him out. He's making video content on telecom, and he'll give you guys some coverage on that tomorrow, I'm sure, to follow up on this story. Big shout out to Zero Cool. Thanks for coming through and hanging out with us and offering your insights and perspectives on the matter. But yeah, man, it was a good show. Thank you guys for joining me. Hashtag 2LiveCrew for those watching this in the live. Hashtag Replay Crew for those watching this on DVR. Hashtag Ravioli Gang if you're watching dinner or snacking. And hashtag Mod Squad, all my blue wrenches out there holding it down and getting rid of that troll who was in here talking about who knows what. I don't know, talking about some kind of show that he was watching. Big shout out to Chucky. Thanks for the super chat. So does AT&T Ad Discovery Plus. It essentially becomes, I think, part of, the Warner Media Studios conglomerate. So I think it finds its way into HBO Max, right?
Yeah, they could, and that would be the start of them offering live TV on HBO Max, like they said they may do.
Yeah, they could. And big shout out to Marc. Thank you for your super chat from earlier. Appreciate you guys, and thanks for supporting. I do have to do a podcast this week. I got a ton of stuff that I wanted to discuss. It's just too much to do in a single video. So I'll run the podcast either tomorrow or Tuesday. I got a Patreon exclusive coming out Tuesday or Wednesday. And then we've got the Patreon exclusive podcast every Sunday before this show. So a lot of stuff this week, man. We'll see what happens. Thank you, Big Lou, for coming through. Appreciate you. You're going to have to replay. We're done, man. We out this piece. Ladies and gents, thanks for being a part of the show. We appreciate you for coming through, and we'll catch you on the next show. Peace.